Every empire in the history of the world, every single one, believed it was different, that it was special, that the rules that ended Rome, ended Britain, ended every great power before it, somehow wouldn't apply to them. America is not different. The question isn't whether the American empire is falling. The question is whether you'll be ready when it does.
July 1944. The entire world is on fire. 50 million people will die before this war is over. Europe is in ruins. Asia is devastated. The old empires, British, French, Dutch, are crumbling under their own weight. But there is one nation that is not just surviving this war, it is thriving. The United States of America. In the mountains of New Hampshire, at a grand hotel called the Mount Washington, 730 delegates from 44 nations gathered for a conference that most people have never heard of, but that shaped every single aspect of your life today. It was called the Bretton Woods Conference, and in the space of just 3 weeks, America did something no nation had ever done before. It didn't just win a war, it designed the entire financial architecture of the world around itself.
Here's the deal America put on the table. The US dollar would become the world's reserve currency. Every other nation's money would be pegged to the dollar. And the dollar? The dollar would be backed by gold. America had more gold than any country on Earth, over $20 billion worth, sitting in Fort Knox. The promise was simple. You could always trade your dollars back for gold. The dollar was as good as gold, literally. And with that promise, America didn't just win the war, it became the undisputed ruler of the global financial system. For the next 2 decades, the system worked beautifully. American manufacturing dominated the globe. The middle class exploded. Suburbs spread across the countryside like wildfire. The GI Bill sent a generation to college. Americans called it the Golden Age, and they weren't wrong. But empires built on privilege always start to believe the privilege is permanent. It never is. By the 1960s, America had a problem that powerful nations always develop. It started believing it could do everything at the same time. It was fighting a brutal, grinding war in Vietnam that was bleeding money by the billions. Simultaneously, it was locked in a space race with the Soviet Union, another money pit with no bottom. And President Lyndon Johnson, not wanting to be remembered as a war president, was pouring hundreds of billions more into a sweeping program he called the Great Society. Medicare, Medicaid, education spending, social welfare programs from coast to coast, guns and butter and rockets. To fund all of this, the United States had to print more dollars, a lot more dollars. And here is where that 1944 promise started to become a lie. Every dollar the US printed was supposed to be backed by gold, but they were printing far more dollars than they had gold to cover. The rest of the world began doing the math, and they didn't like what they found. European nations, especially the French, led by the fiercely independent Charles de Gaulle, started whispering what everyone was thinking. Is America actually going to honor this deal? Do they even have enough gold? The exorbitant privilege was starting to feel extorted. In the end, it was the French who blinked first. In a bold, almost theatrical act of defiance, France didn't just ask questions about America's gold. They sent a warship to New York Harbor and demanded their gold back, physically. They wanted the metal, not the paper. Other nations watched, and then they started making the same demands. The bank run on America had begun. On the night of August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon went on television. He didn't look like a man delivering a crisis speech. He was calm, measured. He almost sounded reasonable. He told the American people that effective immediately, the US dollar would no longer be convertible to gold. Just like that, a promise made to the entire world in 1944, gone, erased, done. The press called it the Nixon Shock, and the world should have collapsed. International markets should have cratered. The dollar should have become worthless. But it didn't, because Nixon had a plan B. In February of 1972, just months after killing the gold standard, Nixon boarded a plane for a country that had been America's enemy for over 2 decades. He landed in Beijing, China. This wasn't just a diplomatic handshake. This was a strategic masterstroke. Nixon opened China to the global economy, and in doing so, he created a brand new reason for the world to need dollars. If China was going to do business with the world, it was going to do it in dollars. The dollar no longer needed gold. It needed something bigger. The entire global economy plugged into the Pax Americana, the American-led world order. And for a while, it worked spectacularly. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, America stood alone at the top of the world. No rival, no check, no balance. And that is almost always the moment an empire makes its most dangerous mistake. Instead of doubling down on what made America great, production, manufacturing, building real things, the country made a different bet. Wall Street bet that you didn't need to make things anymore. You just needed to move money. Economists gave this process a clinical name, financialization. But what it really meant was this: America stopped building steel and started building financial instruments, stopped making cars and started making derivatives, stopped producing and started speculating. The working class watched their factory jobs disappear, shipped overseas to the cheap labor markets that globalization had opened up. And Washington told them not to worry. America was getting richer than ever. And on paper, they weren't lying. The stock market was soaring, real estate was booming, credit was flowing like water. Every American, it seemed, could borrow their way to prosperity. But the prosperity was hollow. It wasn't built on production, it was built on debt. And on September 15, 2008, the bill arrived. Lehman Brothers, one of the most powerful financial institutions in the world, collapsed overnight. Within weeks, the entire global financial system was in free fall. 6 million Americans would lose their homes. 8 million would lose their jobs. Trillions of dollars in wealth vanished. The great financial crisis of 2008 didn't just tank the economy. It exposed the lie at the center of American power. The world's greatest economy was, at its core, a debt machine running on borrowed time. For years after 2008, the dollar limped along. The Fed printed trillions to prop up the system, a process they called quantitative easing, which is a very polite way of saying they were papering over the cracks. But then came 2022, and Vladimir Putin changed everything. When Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022, the United States and its allies responded with the most sweeping financial sanctions in modern history. They froze $300 billion of Russia's foreign reserves, money that was sitting in Western banks, just frozen, inaccessible. Now, to the American government, this was a brilliant strategic move. To every other government on Earth, including American allies, it was a terrifying wake-up call. Because what it proved was this: your dollar reserves aren't really yours. America can take them away whenever it decides you've stepped out of line. The reaction was swift and quiet and consequential. Saudi Arabia, America's most important oil partner for 50 years, started discussing selling oil in Chinese yuan. India started buying Russian energy using rupees. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the BRICS nations, accelerated plans to build a financial system that didn't depend on the dollar at all. Nation after nation started asking the question that the French asked back in 1965: do we actually need to do this in dollars? And for the first time in 80 years, the honest answer was, maybe not. Central banks around the world are buying gold at the fastest rate since 1967. They're not buying it because gold is pretty. They're buying it because they are quietly, deliberately building a financial life raft in case the dollar goes under. The exorbitant privilege is being revoked. Here is where the story gets truly dangerous, because history teaches us something uncomfortable about empires in decline. They don't go quietly. Jiang, a Chinese-Canadian scholar who has spent years analyzing imperial decline cycles, puts it bluntly. As America loses its economic grip on the world, its leaders face a brutal temptation, the kind that has destroyed every empire that faced it before. When you can no longer win economically, you try to win militarily. And the target that makes the most strategic sense in the desperate logic of a declining empire is Iran. Think about it. Iran sits at the center of the Middle East. It controls access to the Strait of Hormuz, the choke point through which nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes every single day. Control Iran, and you control the global energy market. Control the global energy market, and every nation on Earth still needs dollars to buy oil. It's not crazy. It's actually a very logical move if you're an empire trying to claw back dominance. But here's the problem. Jiang is direct. The United States would lose a war with Iran. Not immediately, not on the battlefield. America's military is the most powerful conventional fighting force ever assembled. But Iran is not Iraq. It's not Afghanistan. Iran is a nation of 90 million people with a sophisticated military, deep regional alliances, and the ability to shut down global oil flows within hours. A war with Iran doesn't stay a war with Iran. Russia watches from the north. China watches from the east, and the entire architecture of the post-World War II world order begins to crack. Historians will tell you that World War I, the deadliest conflict in human history up to that point, wasn't caused by one great act of aggression. It was caused by a series of miscalculations, by leaders who were too proud to back down, by a system under so much pressure that one small spark, the assassination of an archduke in Sarajevo, set the whole thing on fire. The world today has more pressure in it than it has had at any time since 1939, and the sparks are everywhere.
So here we are, the empire that was born at Bretton Woods in 1944, that shook the world when Nixon went to China, that survived the Cold War, that built the most powerful economy and military the world has ever seen. It is changing, deeply, fundamentally. Whether that change becomes decline or transformation depends on choices being made right now in Washington, in Beijing, in Moscow, in the banks and the boardrooms and the ballot boxes. The question is not whether the American era will end. Every era ends. The question is what Americans decide to do about it before someone else makes that decision for them. The patterns of history are not destiny, but they are warnings. Eisenhower warned us. Thucydides warned us. Quigley warned us. Popper warned us. Now, you've been warned too. What you do with that is up to you.
If this documentary made you think, if it raised questions you want to dig deeper on, hit subscribe, because this is a conversation we're going to keep having. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Where do you think this is heading? I want to read every single one. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care.